Hi all, welcome back to another Robot Army video, and today I'm going to challenge myself by making a Pickle Rick model. Now I'm sure there's loads and loads of these models online that you can just download, but I thought it'd be a nice challenge to try to take what I see in 2D and make it into 3D, and the results being a little desktop model. So I've got this filament printer that I've had for ages and I've not really used it, so I thought it would be a good idea to kind of give this a go. He seems a pretty simple character, so I think it probably maybe take a few hours, I don't know. I mean, there's no textures and stuff like that, so let's see how it goes. So I've gathered my reference up and put it into a PureRef document so I can see it on screen at all times. That way I'm not tempted to try to like make this up or just think that I know what it looks like. As much reference as possible is needed for this. So I'm going to start with the base mesh, and this is just so that I can kind of plan out the overall proportions and not be tempted to start sculpting in any detail. So if I start to put detail in and then find that I need to change the proportions afterwards, it's going to be really difficult and it's a real pain because moving them proportions around can screw up a lot of detail. It's much better to just keep it simple and get those initial volumes correct. The second thing is I'm looking to try to figure out how many individual parts I need to separate this into. It's easier to have things in many parts in Zbrush rather than try to sculpt it all as one. So I like to just plan that stage out here because it's easy just to shove primitives in, get a rough kind of shape of them things before then loading all this into Zbrush, starting the detail phase. Alright then, so that's our Pickle Rick done. Time to take it to the printer. No, this is my, my base mesh, my very simple base proportions. So everything from this point, I feel like I can keep in proportion quite well. So let's time lapse through the rest of this base mesh build, which is just more dragging out primitives, and then we'll take it to ZBrush once that stage is complete. So as I've worked my way through this base mesh, I've realised that it is asymmetrical, but I think I will just try to get it right in ZBrush first, and then I will replace the parts that are different later on, because most of them parts are a little bit more organic anyway, so it's probably best that I just use what I've made and do the changes in ZBrush. Alright then, so half an hour into this project so far, and we are at the end of the base mesh phase, so it's time to take this into ZBrush. So with that imported into ZBrush, I've separated everything onto its own layer and I've mirrored everything that needs to be duplicated. So I'm going to begin the ZBrush section of this by taking the main body, which is arguably the most important part of this whole sculpt, and the most important part of that, which is the face. I think if I can get the face right, then I'll know the rest of it should be okay. So first of all, I'm going to dynamesh this body so that I have a little bit more resolution to work with. So I'm going to block in the different parts of the face. The eyelids are especially important with this because they need to remain as neat as possible so they don't go muddy. But by keeping all these elements separate, I can then start to block in the fatty lumps behind the face, sink in the eye sockets, bring out the brow without distorting the various elements, keeping it all neat right up to the point where I'm happy with it, and then I can dynamesh that all together and make it nice and smooth. Well, I think that actually brings the most difficult part to an end, and also kind of the most fun part. that's getting this face done. So I've given this kind of like grin, this angry and I guess satisfied grin of power that I really like from this shot here. So now I guess it's just move through the rest of these models, every subtool, and work them up to the final quality. So smooth them off and add the details. So I've jumped back in Maya here to create the hard surface model for the blade, because I find that kind of thing easier to do within Maya. So I'll bring that back into Zbrush now and finalize everything. Okay, I think the modeling on this bad boy is actually done at this point. Now it's time to prep this for printing. Now I've got not much experience in printing. I've had my printer for about 3 to 4 years. I've not even finished an entire roll of filament. But my idea for this is that I'm going to split it up into parts, into limbs. So I'll have the arms, legs and hands, and then the main body. And I'm going to do it some way to make it posable. I'm going to make ball joints so that I can at least push fit them together. Now I've gone through great pains to try to make sure that there's not many overhangs on this, because I know that can be a real pain and cause a lot of messiness. So let's just make these ball joints, set it up on a flat plane, and then set up the 3D printing file and see what it spits out. As I'm moving through this, I'm trying to think of areas that might cause issues. Maybe, you know, if I want the legs to be able to move forwards and backwards, then I'm going to need to make sure that they've got enough clearance. Now I've laid this all flat, so the underneath, I guess, is going to have the support, which is going to be the messy area, so I've tried to keep that to places that are harder to see. Now there is actually like crossover, there's intersections inside this mesh, and I don't know if that's going to cause a problem or not, but I guess we'll find out, eh? So this is the first print, and it's come out pretty well. So yeah, the detail's pretty nice. It's about as close to the finest resolution that my print can do. The shallow angle here, you can see pretty bad stepping, but everything else on it has come out better than I thought it would, to be honest. Except for the back where it's been flat on the bed, you can see the detail is pretty much obliterated there. So let's print the rest of this and see what it looks like all together. So here's the final filament print, and it's looking pretty nice. I mean, it's quite smooth. You can't really see the stepping so much apart from in the very top areas, and I think the main body is definitely the best part of it. I really like the way these Boolean pieces are perfect. They just push together absolutely perfectly. There is no gap between them at all. However, the little nubbins that I put in so that I could pop them in and make posable legs, the layering is totally in the wrong position and they've just snapped off instantly. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Here's some beauty shots of it anyway. This really needs to be done on a resin printer, I think, to get that really nice smooth look. Okay, this was meant to be a quick project, but a few months later now, and I just couldn't help myself, I went out and bought a resin printer. They've come down massively in price, and the quality of this is just fantastic. I couldn't believe the results. You can just about see the stepping on the top of the head here, but it feels completely smooth, and the quality difference between these weapons is so noticeable. So even though this project took a lot longer than I initially wanted it to, I've had great fun with it and I'm really happy with the results. As a little addition here, I've also just thrown the 3D model into Marmoset and shoved some textures on it to get this cool little render, because I just can't help myself. If you would like a copy of this to print at home yourself, then you can find a download link below. And if you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe for more, and if you've got any suggestions of what I should make next, leave them down in the comments. Thanks for watching.